The training hall is chaos. Dust hangs in the air like smoke from an old battlefield. Shouts echo off concrete walls. Recruits are dropping left and right, gasping, grabbing their ribs, their knees buckling under pressure that separates the warriors from the wishful. Riley Blackwood stands in the back corner, hands trembling at her sides, eyes locked on the floor like she's studying cracks in the foundation. Her uniform hangs loose on her thin frame. Her shoulders slouch forward like she's trying to disappear into herself, to become invisible, to not exist in this moment. She's been here before. This feeling, this pressure, this judgment. Next, the instructor's voice cracks like a whip across the room. Riley's breath catches. Her legs feel like lead as she steps forward into the center of the mat. Every recruit in the room watches her. Some snicker behind their hands. Others whisper to each other, shaking their heads. A few just stare with something between pity and disgust. And then he steps up. Corporal Derek Thornton, 6'2", 220 pounds of muscle stacked like armor plating. Blonde hair cut high and tight. Blue eyes that look at Riley like she's a joke he's about to tell to the entire room. He flexes his shoulders, rolls his neck, and the sound of cracking joints echoes in the sudden silence. This is what they're sending us now. His voice carries across the training hall loud enough for everyone to hear, calculated for maximum humiliation. You sure you're in the right building, sweetheart? Girl Scouts meet down the street on Thursdays. Laughter ripples through the room. Not everyone laughs, but enough do. Enough that Riley feels it in her chest like a physical weight pressing down on her lungs. She doesn't respond. She just stands there, small, silent, invisible. Exactly like she's been trained to be. Derek circles her, slowly sizing her up like a predator examining prey. His boots thud against the mat with each deliberate step. He's performed this ritual before. The humiliation, the mockery, the casual cruelty that passes for toughness in places like this. Let's make this quick. He mutters it just loud enough for the front row to hear. Then, without warning, without any combat stance or preparation, he throws a mocking kick toward her midsection. Not hard, not meant to injure, just enough to humiliate. Just enough to make her stumble backward and prove to everyone watching that she doesn't belong here. Riley stumbles. More laughter. She doesn't fight back, doesn't argue, doesn't even look up. She just stares at the floor like she's used to this. Like this is her natural state in the world. Before we go any further, I need to tell you something about Riley Blackwood. Riley Blackwood is 23 years old. She grew up in a small Nevada town where the desert stretches for miles in every direction, and nobody expected much from anybody, least of all from her. She was the quiet kid, the shy kid, the kind of person people looked past without a second thought, like furniture that's always been there but never quite noticed. She joined the Marine Corps Reserve 6 months ago, hoping to prove she was more than what people saw when they looked at her. So far, she's only proven them right. At least that's what it looks like on the surface. What no one in that training hall knows, what no one has ever bothered to ask, is that Riley Blackwood didn't just grow up quiet. She grew up disciplined. 16 years ago, when Riley was 7 years old, she came home from school with tears streaming down her face. Kids at school had pushed her down on the playground, called her weak, called her names she didn't even understand yet. Her clothes were dirty, her knee was scraped and bleeding, and she was crying the way children cry when they realize the world is crueler than they thought it would be. Her grandfather found her sitting on the back porch of their small Nevada home, knees pulled up to her chest, trying to make herself as small as possible. Master Sergeant William Blackwood, 62 years old at the time, 30 years in the Marine Corps Force Reconnaissance. A man who had seen combat in the deserts of Iraq during the Gulf War in 1991, who had fought in the streets of Mogadishu, Somalia in 1993 during the Battle of the Black Sea, when 19 American soldiers died in a single day, and the world watched helplessness turn into heroism, who had hunted terrorists in the mountains of Afghanistan after September 11, 2001. William Blackwood had 3 Purple Hearts, 2 Bronze Stars, and a Navy Cross he never talked about. He had trained more special operations soldiers than most people would meet in a lifetime. He had killed men in combat. He had saved men in combat. He had learned lessons written in blood, in sand, and the kind of silence that comes after gunfire stops. And when he saw his granddaughter crying on that porch, he made a decision. He didn't tell her to toughen up. He didn't tell her to ignore the bullies. He didn't tell her that words couldn't hurt her. Instead, he said 4 words that changed her life. I'll teach you how. The next morning before school, William woke Riley at 5 a.m., took her into the garage he'd converted into a training space years ago, and he began teaching his 7-year-old granddaughter how to fight. Not how to brawl, not how to throw wild punches and hope for the best. He taught her how to fight the way Force Reconnaissance Marines fight, with precision, with control, with the understanding that real combat isn't about strength or size or anger. It's about leverage, timing, turning your opponent's force against them. He taught her Krav Maga, the Israeli martial art designed for real-world combat for survival when the odds are against you. He taught her Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, the art of controlling opponents through joint locks and submission holds, making size and strength irrelevant. He taught her close-quarters combat techniques used by Navy SEALs and Delta Force operators, the kind of skills that turn a human body into a weapon. Every morning before school, 2 hours of drills, forms, conditioning, sparring against heavy bags that weighed more than she did. Every evening after homework, more training, weapons disarms, tactical movement, learning to read an opponent's intentions in the micro-expressions of their face, the shift of their weight, the tension in their shoulders. By the time Riley was 16 years old, she had mastered 3 martial arts forms, close quarters combat tactics and tactical disarmament techniques used by Special Forces units around the world. She could field strip and reassemble an M4 carbine blindfolded. She could hit targets at 800 yards with a rifle. She could survive in the desert for a week with nothing but a knife and a canteen. But William taught her something else, something more important than any technique or skill. He taught her when to hide what she could do. Listen to me, Riley. He said this to her on her 16th birthday, sitting across from her at the kitchen table of their small home, his weathered hands folded in front of him. The strongest warriors don't need to prove anything. You understand, real strength doesn't announce itself. It doesn't flex. It doesn't make noise. Real strength waits. It watches. It lets people underestimate you. Because being underestimated is the best weapon you can carry into any fight. Riley understood. She had learned by then that people treat you differently when they think you're weak. They drop their guard. They get careless. They reveal things they wouldn't reveal to someone they respected or feared. So when she joined the Marine Corps Reserve 6 months ago, she made a choice. She would hide what she could do. She would be quiet, invisible. The recruit everyone assumed would wash out in the first month. And she would wait for the moment when hiding was no longer an option. That moment is coming. Back in the training hall, the laughter hasn't stopped. Derek Thornton stands over Riley, arms crossed, grinning like a bully who just won recess. His buddies in the back are egging him on, calling out suggestions for what he should do next. Come on, at least try to block. Give me something to work with here. Riley's jaw tightens. Her fists clench at her sides. She's faced this her whole life. The dismissals, the mockery, the assumption that because she's small and quiet and doesn't make noise, she must be weak. In high school, she was cut from the track team before she even got to try out. The coach took one look at her and said she was too fragile. At her first reserve training session 3 months ago, a drill sergeant told her to her face that she'd never make it past basic. Said she should quit now and save everyone the trouble. Even here in a room full of people who are supposed to be her teammates, supposed to be her brothers and sisters, in arms, she's treated like dead weight, like a mistake, like someone who slipped through the cracks of the recruitment process and needs to be weeded out before she becomes a liability. The instructor steps forward, sensing the situation is getting out of hand. Grant, ease up. Let's move on to the next pair. But Derek doesn't move. He's enjoying this too much. The attention, the power, the feeling of being superior to someone in a world where he's been told his entire life that superiority matters more than anything else. Nah, I want to see what she's got. He steps closer. Riley's breathing slows. Her heartbeat steadies. Her grandfather's voice echoes in her mind, as clear as if he were standing beside her. When the moment comes, you'll know. Your body will know. Trust your training. Derek raises his hand like he's about to shove her shoulder to knock her off balance again, to add another layer of humiliation to a moment that's already crossed too many lines. And that's when Riley moves. It happens in a flash. 1 second, Derek's hand is moving toward her shoulder. The next second, Riley has sidestepped, smooth as water, and Derek's hand catches nothing but air. His balance shifts. His weight is forward. His guard is non-existent because he didn't think he needed one. Riley's hand snaps out. Palms strike to his sternum. Controlled but firm. Precise. Textbook perfect. Derek stumbles backward, eyes wide breath knocked out of him in a sharp gasp. The room goes silent. Not the kind of silence that's empty. The kind of silence that's filled with shock and disbelief and the sudden realization that something has shifted in the fundamental dynamics of power. Before Derek can recover, before his brain can process what just happened, Riley flows into a low stance. She sweeps his front leg with a technique so smooth it looks choreographed. His knee buckles, and in one seamless motion, she redirects his weight using his own momentum against him. Derek hits the mat hard. The sound echoes through the training hall like thunder. No one laughs now. No one even breathes. Riley stands over him, calm, controlled, her face unreadable. Not triumphant, not angry, just present, just waiting. Derek blinks up at her from the mat, stunned, gasping for air like a fish pulled from water. His face is red. His ego is shattered. And somewhere deep in his expression is something that might be the beginning of respect, though it's buried under layers of humiliation and confusion. What the hell? The instructor steps forward, eyes narrowed, studying Riley like he's seeing her for the first time. Because he is. They all are. Blackwood. His voice is careful now, measured. Where did you learn that Riley doesn't answer? She just extends a hand to help Derek up. It's not a gesture of dominance. It's a gesture of respect. Of offering him a way back to his feet that doesn't completely destroy what's left of his pride. Derek doesn't take it. Instead, he scrambles to his feet on his own face, burning red fists clenched at his sides. His buddies in the back are silent now. No more laughing, no more jokes. Lucky shot. Derek's voice is tight, angry, defensive. Try again. Riley's response is quiet, so quiet that only the people closest to her can hear it. But there's no fear in her voice now, no trembling, just calm certainty. Okay, Derek lunges. This time he's not playing. This time he's angry. This time he's trying to prove something to himself and to everyone watching. He throws a straight right hand with real power behind it, the kind of punch that could break ribs if it lands clean. Riley moves like smoke. She ducks under the punch slips to the outside and redirects his arm with a gentle touch that sends him stumbling past her. He recovers, spins, throws a combination. Jab, cross, hook. Riley weaves through it all, her movements minimal, efficient, making him look slow and clumsy and powerless. She doesn't attack. She doesn't need to. She just makes him miss, makes him waste energy, makes him realize with every passing second that he's fighting someone who understands combat on a level he's never even considered. Within 30 seconds, Derek is back on the mat, breathing hard, sweat dripping down his face, his pride shattered into pieces so small they might never fit back together. The other recruits stare in disbelief. One whispers to another, voice filled with awe and confusion. Who is she? Then the doors at the back of the training hall slam open. The sound is like a gunshot. Everyone freezes. 3 figures step into the room. 2 men in dress uniforms with enough ribbons and medals on their chests to tell a lifetime of stories. And behind them, a man in a wheelchair, older, weathered, with the kind of face that's seen things most people only have nightmares about. The instructor snaps to attention so fast it looks painful. General on deck. Every recruit in the room scrambles to stand at attention, boots slamming together, hands rigid at their sides. Every recruit except Riley, who's still standing in the center of the mat, catching her breath, her eyes locked on the 3 figures who just entered. 2-star General Marcus Reeves, 60 years old. Silver hair, eyes like steel. A man who's commanded special operations units in 3 different wars and has the kind of reputation that makes colonels nervous. Brigadier General Elena Frost, 55. The first woman to command a Marine Expeditionary Unit in combat. Sharp features, sharper mind. The kind of officer who can see through lies and excuses like they're made of glass. And in the wheelchair, Colonel James Hartwell, 68 years old, lost his left leg below the knee in Mogadishu, Somalia in 1993 when a rocket-propelled grenade turned a street corner into hell. Retired from active duty, but still consulted on special operations training and recruitment. Still respected. Still feared by people who know what he's capable of. General Sarave's eyes sweep the training hall. Then they lock onto Riley. His expression doesn't change, but there's something in his gaze. Recognition, assessment, the look of a man who's found what he's been searching for. Blackwood. His voice is granite, unyielding, front and center. Riley's stomach drops. Her mind races. Did she do something wrong? Is she about to be discharged, court-martialed? Has she just destroyed the only chance she had to prove herself? She steps forward, heart pounding in her chest like a war drum. Every step feels like walking toward a cliff edge. General Reeves studies her for a long, heavy moment. The silence stretches. The entire training hall watches. Then he speaks. "We've been watching you." Riley's breath catches. "Watching me," Sir General Frost steps forward, her heels clicking on the concrete floor. "Your grandfather was Master Sergeant William Blackwood, correct?" "Yes, ma'am. He trained you. It's not a question. It's a statement." Riley nods, not trusting her voice. Colonel Hartwell wheels closer. When he speaks, his voice is warm, familiar, like coming home after a long journey. "Riley, it's been a long time. You probably don't remember me. I'm James, Uncle James. Your grandfather and I served together for 20 years. Riley's eyes widen. She does remember. Vague memories from childhood. A man with a big laugh and rough hands who would visit their Nevada home and tell stories late into the night while she pretended to sleep on the couch. Uncle James, her voice is barely a whisper. "That's right, kid. William asked us to do something before he died. He asked us to find you, to watch you, to test you." General Reeves takes over, his voice returning to command mode. "We've been running a classified recruitment program, searching for candidates with advanced combat skills, situational awareness, and the ability to operate under pressure without drawing attention to themselves." He pauses. The weight of the pause is deliberate. "We've had you on our radar for 3 months, Blackwood. Every evaluation, every drill, every moment you held back while other recruits mocked you and dismissed you and treated you like you didn't belong." General Frost's voice cuts in, precise and cold. "We needed to see if you could stay disciplined even when provoked. If you could control your abilities until the right moment. If you had the mental strength to be underestimated day after day and not break." Riley glances at Derek, still on the mat, still staring at her like she's a ghost or an alien or something his brain can't quite process. Then back to the generals. General Reeves steps closer, close enough that Riley can see the lines around his eyes, the weight of decades of command decisions. "Blackwood, we didn't come here to watch you spar with Corporal Thornton. We came here because the test is over. And you passed." Silence. Riley's mind reels. "Passed what? What test? What is happening?" "We came to offer you a position." The words hang in the air like smoke. Riley tries to process them, but her brain feels like it's moving through mud. "What kind of position?" Sir General Frost answers. "Special Operations Reconnaissance, Shadow Unit, off-book missions, high risk, zero public recognition. The kind of work your grandfather did for the last 15 years of his career." Riley's heart hammers. This is what William trained her for. This is why he spent 16 years teaching her to fight, to survive, to be invisible, until the moment she needed to strike. This is his legacy being offered to her on a silver platter. But there's one final test. General Reeves gestures toward the door. 4 figures step into the training hall, full tactical gear, faces hard, bodies built like concrete walls, eyes like winter steel. Sergeant First Class Dylan Cross, 35, former Army Ranger, deployed 6 times to Afghanistan. The kind of operator who moves through enemy territory like a shadow. Staff Sergeant Garrett Hayes, 32, former Marine Marauder, 6'4", built like a defensive lineman. Nicknamed Brick for obvious reasons. Sergeant Lisa Patterson, 29, former 75th Ranger Regiment, red hair pulled back tight, the only woman to complete Ranger School with a perfect score on every evaluation. Corporal Ethan Wade, 26, Explosives Ordnance Disposal Specialist, the kind of soldier who defuses bombs while other men hold their breath and pray. These are shadow program operators, the best of the best, soldiers who've proven themselves in combat zones around the world. General Frost's voice cuts through Riley's racing thoughts. "You have 2 minutes, survive against all 4, and the position is yours." The training hall erupts in whispers. Derek mutters from where he's finally gotten back to his feet. No way. That's impossible. Quiet. General Braves he snaps the word like a command. Silence returns instantly. Riley looks at the four operators. They're not here to go easy on her. This isn't a demonstration. This isn't a drill. This is real. This is combat controlled but genuine, and if she fails, if she can't handle this, everything ends here. She takes a breath, rolls her shoulders, and steps into the center of the mat. The four operators spread out surrounding her in a loose diamond formation. No rules, no mercy, no holding back. This is what she'll face if she joins Shadow Program. Overwhelming odds, professional soldiers, life or death situations where hesitation means failure. A timer appears on the wall. 2 minutes, 120 seconds to prove she belongs. The timer starts. The first operator lunges. Dylan Cross comes in fast, testing her reaction time. Riley drops low slides past his guard and strikes the nerve cluster behind his knee with 2 fingers. Precise, controlled, exactly the way William taught her. Dylan's leg buckles. He doesn't go down, but he stumbles, surprised. The second comes from her left. Garrett Hayes, the big man, trying to use his size advantage to overwhelm her. Riley doesn't try to match his strength. Instead, she redirects his momentum using his own weight against him. She pivots, grabs his extended arm, and sends him crashing into Dylan. 2 operators tangled together for a crucial second. The third attacks from behind. Lisa Patterson silent as death, going for a rear chokehold. But Riley's been training for this since she was 7 years old. She feels the shift in air pressure, the subtle sound of boot on mat. She drops her weight, twists her hips, and uses a joint lock her grandfather drilled into her 1,000 times. Lisa releases. Riley spins free. 30 seconds gone. The operators regroup. Their eyes are sharper now, respect creeping into their movements. They've tested her and she's passed the first round. Now they come at her with real intent. They attack together this time. All 4 coordinated, no gaps in their formation. This is the test William prepared her for. Not one opponent, not 2, but multiple attackers working in unison, the way real combat works, the way enemies don't fight fair. Riley moves like water through stone. Fluid, precise, unstoppable. She doesn't rely on strength because she doesn't have their strength. She relies on timing, on leverage, on control. Every strike is a redirection. Every block is a counter. She's not fighting them. She was teaching them why they can't win. Ethan Wade comes in with a straight punch. Riley catches his wrist, rotates it, and uses the leverage to throw him into Garrett's path. Both men stumble. Lisa tries a leg sweep. Riley jumps it, lands immediately, flows into a strike combination that forces Lisa back 3 steps. Dylan charges from the side. Riley doesn't even look at him. She just steps aside at the last possible second, and Dylan crashes into the space where she was standing. 1 minute gone, 60 seconds remaining. The operators are breathing harder now. Sweat on their faces, frustration in their eyes. They're not used to this. They're not used to being outmaneuvered by someone smaller, younger, less experienced. But Riley isn't outmaneuvering them with experience. She's outmaneuvering them with something deeper, with the kind of training that becomes instinct, with the legacy of a grandfather who understood that real combat isn't about winning. It's about surviving long enough to find the opening. 45 seconds. Garrett Hayes tries brute force. He grabs for Riley with both hands, trying to use his size to simply overpower her. Riley lets him catch her wrist. Then she rotates into the grip, uses it as a fulcrum, and throws him over her hip. 240 pounds of Marine Raider hits the mat hard. The sound echoes through the training hall like a car crash. 30 seconds. Dylan and Ethan come together, trying to trap her between them. Riley doesn't panic. She doesn't try to escape. Instead, she moves toward them, closing the distance before they expect it. She strikes Dylan's inside knee, causing him to shift weight, then pivots and sweeps Ethan's front leg. Both men stumble into each other. Riley has already gone flowing to the outside of their formation. 15 seconds. Lisa Patterson, the most skilled of the 4, finally finds an opening. She gets behind Riley, locks in a rear chokehold properly this time. For a moment, it looks like Riley might tap out. Her face reddens. Her hands come up to the arm around her throat. But William Blackwood taught his granddaughter something important. When you can't go forward, go back. When you can't escape, attack through. Riley drops all her weight suddenly. Lisa, caught off balance, tips forward. Riley reaches back, grabs Lisa's uniform, and throws her over her shoulder using Lisa's own grip as the leverage point. Lisa hits the mat, hard. 5 seconds. All four operators are on the mat now, breathing hard, eyes wide with disbelief and something that might be admiration. Riley stands in the center, barely winded. Her grandfather's training, her grandfather's legacy. 16 years of discipline and sacrifice, and learning to be invisible until the moment she needed to be seen. The timer hits 2 minutes. A buzzer sounds. Silence falls over the training hall like a blanket. General Reeves steps forward. His face is unreadable. Then slowly, deliberately, he extends his hand. "Welcome to Shadow Program, Lieutenant Blackwood." The words hit Riley like a physical force. Lieutenant, not recruit, not private. Lieutenant, a promotion that skips multiple ranks. Recognition that changes everything. She shakes his hand. His grip is firm, respectful. General Frost approaches next. "Your grandfather would be proud." Riley's throat tightens. Emotions she's kept buried for 6 months threaten to surface. 16 years of training. 13 months since William died. 6 months of being invisible, of being mocked, of being told she didn't belong. And now this. "Thank you, ma'am." Her voice barely works. But it's enough. Derek Thornton finally gets to his feet across the training hall. He looks at Riley. Really looks at her for the first time. Not at what he assumed she was, at what she actually is. Shame and awe wore on his face. I'm sorry, I didn't know." Riley turns to him. Her voice is simple, honest. "You didn't ask. The words aren't cruel. They're just true." Derek nods, humbled in a way that might actually teach him something. Colonel Hartwell wheels forward one last time. His weathered face cracks into a smile, the kind of smile that carries decades of memories. "You start Monday, 0500 hours. Briefing is classified. Tell no one where you're going or what you'll be doing." "Yes, sir." The generals leave. The four operators follow, each one nodding to Riley as they pass. Dylan Cross pauses. "Welcome to the team, Lieutenant. Looking forward to working with you." Then they're gone. The training hall doors close, and Riley Blackwood stands alone in the center of the mat, surrounded by recruits who are seeing her for the first time. The girl everyone underestimated. The quiet recruit nobody believed in. She's finally seen. Not because she demanded it, not because she made noise or flexed or proved anything to anyone who didn't matter, but because she earned it. Sometimes the strongest people in the room are the ones who never need to prove it until the moment arrives. Riley didn't fight for recognition. She didn't fight for revenge. She fought because she was ready. Because her grandfather spent 16 years preparing her for exactly this moment. And when that moment came, she didn't just survive. She dominated. That's the difference between being loud and being lethal. Between making noise and making history. Between wanting respect and earning it through blood and sweat, and the kind of discipline most people will never understand. Riley Blackwood chose silence, chose patience, chose to let the world underestimate her until the moment she decided it was time to be seen. And the world will never underestimate her again. The secure briefing room is buried 3 levels below Camp Pendleton's main headquarters. No windows, no natural light, just harsh fluorescent tubes that make everyone look pale and tired. The walls are reinforced concrete. The door is steel with a cipher lock that changes codes every 6 hours. This is a SCIF, a sensitive, compartmented information facility, the kind of room where secrets live and die. Riley Blackwood sits at a long conference table, her new lieutenant's bars feeling heavy on her collar. 48 hours ago, she was a nobody recruit. Now she's here in a room where classified operations are planned, where decisions that never make the news are made by people whose names never appear in headlines. Across from her sits Ethan Wade, the EOD specialist, who tested her 2 days ago. He nods at her with something that might be respect. Beside him, the 4 operators who fought her stand at attention as the brass enters: General Marcus Reeves, Brigadier General Elena Frost, and Colonel James Hartwell, wheeling himself to the head of the table with the kind of presence that doesn't need legs to command a room. At ease, Reeves's voice cuts through the tension. Everyone sits except the operators, who remain standing by the door. Riley's hands rest flat on the table, steady despite the questions racing through her mind. Lieutenant Blackwood, welcome to your first official briefing. Reeves pulls a remote from his pocket. The lights dim. A projector hums to life. An image appears on the screen at the front of the room. A military patch. A shadow of a warrior with the words "Silent Service" beneath it. Shadow Program was founded in 1992 immediately following Operation Desert Storm. The Gulf War showed us that modern warfare requires a different kind of soldier, not just special forces, not just black ops, but operators who can work completely off the books. No paper trail, no official recognition, no accountability to anyone except this room. Another image. William Blackwood in his Force Recon uniform, younger, harder, standing in a desert somewhere that could be Iraq or Kuwait or any of a dozen hellholes where America fought wars most people forgot about. Your grandfather was one of the founding members. Master Sergeant William Blackwood and I served together in Somalia in '93. Battle of Mogadishu, 19 Americans killed in a single day. We learned something in those streets that changed how we thought about warfare. Hartwell leans forward, his voice rough with memory. We learned that sometimes the most dangerous missions can't be done by people wearing flags on their shoulders. Sometimes you need ghosts. The image changes. A series of successful operations flash across the screen. Dates, locations, all redacted, all classified. 15 years of missions that never happened in countries America was never officially operating in, stopping threats the public never knew existed. For 15 years, Shadow Program ran clean. Zero compromises, zero failures, until 6 months ago. General Frost takes over. Her voice is ice. Two of our operators were killed in Syria, Captain Marcus Van and Sergeant First Class Jennifer Cole. Both were 20-year veterans. Both were among our best. They were executing a reconnaissance mission on a suspected weapons depot when they were ambushed. Not by enemy combatants, by people who knew exactly where they'd be and exactly when they'd be there. The screen shows two faces, a man and a woman in dress uniforms, their eyes carrying the weight of years in combat zones. Both are dead now. Both were betrayed. 1 week later, a mission in Yemen was blown before it even launched. Intel we'd gathered over 3 months was suddenly in enemy hands. 12 operators were supposed to deploy. We scrubbed the mission 2 hours before wheels up. If we hadn't, all 12 would have walked into a kill zone. Riley's jaw tightens. She's starting to understand why she's here. Why they watched her for 3 months. Why they needed someone they could trust, absolutely. We have a leaked Blackwood. Someone inside Shadow Program is feeding information to enemy forces. Your grandfather was investigating when he died 13 months ago. The screen changes. Riley's breath catches in her throat. William Blackwood's car. Twisted metal. Shattered glass. The wreckage of what the local police called a single vehicle accident. A man who survived combat in 3 different wars, who walked through minefields and firefights, and the kind of hell most people only see in movies, supposedly lost control of his car on a straight Nevada highway on a clear day. We believe your grandfather was murdered. Riley's hands clench into fists on the table. She forces herself to breathe, to stay controlled, to be the warrior William trained her to be. Hartwell speaks, his voice gentle but firm. William came to us 3 weeks before he died, said he'd found something, said there was someone inside Shadow Program who didn't belong, someone from the old days who should have been dead but wasn't. He said he needed 2 more weeks to confirm. We gave him the time, and then he was gone. The screen changes again. A face appears. 45 years old, dark hair starting to gray at the temples, cold eyes, a scar running from his left eyebrow down to his jaw. The kind of scar you get from shrapnel or glass or something sharp moving very fast. Major Victor Kane. General Reeves lets the name hang in the air like smoke. Kane trained under your grandfather from 1999 to 2003. Force reconnaissance. Advanced combat training. Everything William knew he taught to Kane. Made him one of the best operators in the Marine Corps. In 2003, Kane deployed to Afghanistan as part of a hunter-killer team tracking high-value targets in the mountains near the Pakistan border. The screen shows a mission photo. Kane and his team, 8 men all geared up, weapons ready, faces hard, with the kind of confidence that comes from knowing you're the best at what you do. June 15, 2003. Kane's team was hit by an IED, improvised explosive device. 6 men killed instantly. One died of wounds in transit. Kane was the only survivor. He was medevaced to Landstuhl Medical Center in Germany with third-degree burns over 40% of his body, multiple fractures, traumatic brain injury. General Frost continues. He blamed command, said the mission was rushed, said we sent them into a kill zone without proper intel, said his brothers died because brass made bad decisions from air-conditioned offices. He wasn't entirely wrong. The mission was rushed. The intel was thin, but that's war. That's what being a special operator means. You go anyway. Kane recovered physically but not mentally. Started drinking, started questioning orders, started making noise about how the military was broken, how leadership was incompetent, how soldiers were being sacrificed for political games. 6 months after the IED, he disappeared from a base in Germany, went AWOL. 3 days later, classified documents started appearing in enemy hands. Taliban forces began avoiding ambushes they should have walked into. Safe houses got compromised, assets got burned. Reeves's voice turns hard as concrete. We sent a team to bring him in. They found his apartment in Frankfurt burned to the ground with a body inside. Dental records confirmed it was Kane. We declared him KIA, killed in action, and closed the file. That was January 2004, 21 years ago. Riley speaks for the first time since the briefing started. But he's not dead. No, Lieutenant, he's not dead. William found proof. We don't know how Kane faked his death or where he's been for 2 decades. But 6 months ago, he came back, and he's inside Shadow Program. The room falls silent. Riley's mind races. A ghost from 20 years ago, a man her grandfather trained, a man who's been hiding in plain sight among the most elite operators in the military. How is that possible? How does someone just infiltrate Shadow Program? Hartwell answers, his voice heavy with regret. Because we got comfortable, kid. 15 years of success made us sloppy. We stopped questioning people who had the right credentials, the right background, the right story. Shadow Program operators come from all branches. Delta Force, SEALs, Rangers, Marine Raiders. We recruit from the best, and we trust that vetting processes caught everything. Kane knew that. He knew us. He trained with us. He knew exactly how to slip back in. General Frost pulls out a tablet, slides it across the table to Riley. Your grandfather left something for you. We decoded it last week after you passed your final test. Code phrase was Sierra Echo 7 November. Means anything to you. Riley's throat tightens. Sierra Echo 7 November. Her birthday, November 7th. Sierra Echo for her initials. S.E. Sarah Elizabeth, her full name that nobody uses except family. It's my birthday, Hartwell nods. William knew that if you were reading this message, he'd be gone. He knew you'd be the one to finish what he started. Riley opens the tablet. Her grandfather's handwriting fills the screen, scanned from a journal he kept hidden. The words blur for a moment as emotion threatens to overwhelm her training. Then she blinks, focuses, and reads. Riley, if you're reading this, I'm dead, and Victor Kane killed me. I've been investigating him for 8 months. He's back. He's inside Shadow Program. I don't know his new identity yet, but I'm close. Trust only Ironside and the operators I personally trained. The old codes still work. Use them. Find him before he destroys everything we built. Before more good soldiers die because of one man's revenge. You're ready for this. I made sure you were ready. Don't let my death be for nothing. Finish the mission. Grandpa. Riley's hands shake. She sets the tablet down carefully, taking a moment to compose herself. When she looks up, her eyes are dry. Her voice is steady. What's the mission? Sir General Reeves walks to the screen and points at a map of the Middle East. In 72 hours, a shadow team deploys to Yemen. 12 operators, high-value target extraction. If Kane knows the details of this mission, all 12 will die. Your mission, Lieutenant Blackwood, is to find the mole before that deployment. Find out who Kane is now. Stop him. Bring him in alive if possible. Dead if necessary. Riley comes to attention. Yes, sir. What resources do I have? You have Corporal Wade for technical support. You have Colonel Hartwell for tactical advice. You have access to all Shadow Program personnel files, but you cannot tell anyone what you're doing. If Kane suspects we're onto him, he'll disappear again. This time for good. Understood, sir. Where do I start? Hartwell wheels forward. Start where William started, with the people. 2 hours later, Riley sits in Colonel Hartwell's workshop. The space is part office, part museum. Walls covered with photos from decades of service. Somalia, Iraq, Afghanistan. Faces of men and women who served, who fought, who died in places most Americans couldn't find on a map. Hartwell pours coffee from a pot that looks like it's been brewing since the Cold War. Hands Riley a mug that says, Force Recon Swift, Silent Deadly. The coffee tastes like it could strip paint, but Riley drinks it anyway. Your grandfather and I survived some bad days together, kid. Mogadishu was the worst. 3 days of fighting in streets that weren't built for the kind of war we brought there. 19 Americans killed, 73 wounded. We learned something in that hell that most soldiers never learn. What's that, sir? How to read souls. In combat, when bullets are flying and men are dying, people show you who they really are. Can't hide it, can't fake it. You see courage, you see cowardice, you see loyalty, you see betrayal. And once you learn to read those signs in combat, you can read them anywhere. Hartwell pulls out a folder, old-fashioned, paper, no digital trail. William was investigating 8 people before he died, all shadow program operators, all with access to mission details, all with opportunity to leak information. He spreads photos across his desk. Riley studies each face. Staff Sergeant Maria Cortez, 38, Gulf War veteran, one of the few people who was kind to Riley during her 6 months as a recruit. The thought that Maria might be the mole makes Riley's stomach turn. Captain Ryan Foster, 37, logistics officer, handles supply chains and equipment manifests, not an operator but has access to mission planning. Lieutenant Commander Nash Sterling, 42, intelligence officer, former Navy, handles signal intercepts and electronic surveillance. Riley studies each photo trying to see what her grandfather saw, trying to read souls through paper and ink. William had these 3 circled, but he never confirmed which one was Kane, or if any of them were. How do I narrow it down? Hartwell leans back in his wheelchair. Old school intelligence work. Watch them, study their patterns, look for anything that doesn't fit. Kane's been hiding for 20 years, but he's still human. He'll make mistakes, he'll have habits, he'll reveal himself if you're patient enough to see it. I don't have time for patient. The Yemen team deploys in 72 hours. Then you better work fast, Lieutenant. Riley spends the next 12 hours studying personnel files, every shadow program operator, their backgrounds, their deployment histories, their psychological evaluations, looking for gaps, inconsistencies, anything that might indicate someone isn't who they claim to be. Ethan Wade joins her in a secure computer lab. The young corporal has a talent for digging through digital records for finding connections that aren't supposed to exist. What are we looking for, Lieutenant? Riley doesn't look up from her screen. Ghost stories. People who appeared from nowhere. People whose pasts don't quite add up. People who know things they shouldn't know. Ethan's fingers fly across keyboards. Multiple screens glow in the darkness of the lab. Captain Foster's interesting. He's got discrepancies in his supply manifests going back 6 months. Extra equipment ordered. Shipments that don't match official records. What kind of equipment? C4 explosives, detonators, AT-4 rockets, all going to a training exercise near the Yemen border. Riley's instincts prickle. That's not a smoking gun, but it's suspicious. Very suspicious. What about Cortez and Sterling? Cortez is clean as far as I can tell. 20 years of service. Gulf War, multiple deployments. Nothing suspicious in her file. Sterling's more complicated. He's got gaps in his employment history. 3 months here, 6 months there where records are thin. Riley walks to the window. It's dark outside now. Camp Pendleton at night is a maze of security lights and shadows. I need to see them in person. Watch how they move, how they talk. My grandfather taught me that liars have tells. I need to find those tells. How are you going to get close without being obvious? Riley turns back to Ethan. I'm going to need bait. The next evening, Riley sets her plan in motion. She spreads false information carefully crafted about the Yemen mission, changes the timing, changes the location, creates 3 different versions of the intel, each slightly different. Then she makes sure each of her 3 suspects has access to one version. If Kane is one of them, he'll act on the information. He'll pass it along, and Riley will be watching. She stakes out the weapons depot where Captain Foster supposedly sent his off-book shipment. Ethan monitors electronic communications for any signal to external contacts. Hartwell coordinates from his office using decades of experience to anticipate Kane's moves. 10 p.m. The depot is quiet. Security lights cast long shadows across rows of storage containers. Riley waits in darkness, 200 yards out, watching through night vision binoculars, watching for any sign of movement. 11 p.m., nothing. Midnight, still nothing. Riley's about to call it when headlights appear. A military vehicle. Captain Foster gets out looking nervous, checking over his shoulder. He's meeting someone. 3 minutes later, another vehicle arrives. 3 men get out. Not military, private contractors maybe, or something worse. They're dressed civilian but move with military precision. Foster approaches them. There's a conversation Riley can't hear from this distance. Then Foster pulls out something small, a USB drive. He hands it to one of the men. Riley's heart races. This is it. Foster is the mole. She's about to move when everything changes. More headlights. This time it's a convoy. Military police. Someone knew about this meeting. Someone set up Foster. The 3 contractors pull weapons. Foster throws his hands up, shouting something. And suddenly, the quiet weapons depot erupts into chaos. Gunfire. Muzzle flashes in the darkness. The MPs return fire. One of the contractors goes down. Another throws a grenade. The explosion lights up the night like a small sun. Riley's on her feet running toward the firefight. This isn't the plan. This wasn't supposed to happen. But soldiers are in danger and she's a Marine, and that means you run toward the sound of guns, not away from it. She reaches the edge of the depot just as she sees him. General Thomas Thornton, Derek's father, pinned down behind a vehicle, wounded, bleeding from his shoulder. 2 contractors advancing on his position. 30 seconds, and he's dead. Riley doesn't think. She acts. Her M110 sniper rifle is in her hands. She drops to one knee, finds targets through her scope. 400 yards. Wind from the west. Adjust for drop. Breathe. The first contractor's head snaps back. He's down before the sound of the shot reaches him. The second contractor spins, trying to locate the shooter. Too slow. Riley's already adjusted. Second shot, center mass. He crumples. The third contractor runs for cover. Riley tracks him, leads him, squeezes. He stumbles, falls, doesn't get up. Silence returns to the depot as suddenly as it left. Smoke hangs in the air. Someone is screaming. MPs are shouting commands. And in the chaos, Riley sees Foster running, disappearing into the maze of storage containers. She sprints after him. Ethan's voice crackles in her earpiece. "Lieutenant, what's happening? I'm seeing multiple casualty reports." Foster ran. "I'm in pursuit." Riley, wait for backup. But Riley's already gone, moving through shadows, tracking Foster by sound and instinct. She rounds a corner and finds him 20 yards ahead, gasping for breath, trapped against a fence. "Captain Foster." "Stop, hands where I can see them." Foster spins. His face is pale, terrified. He's not a combat operator. He's a logistics officer caught in something way over his head. "Lieutenant Blackwood." "I can explain. I'm not the mole." "Then why are you running?" "Because whoever set this up wants me dead." "Those contractors were Russian Bratva. Mafia. I've been moving equipment off books to cover budget shortfalls, but I'm not selling secrets. Someone's framing me." Riley keeps her rifle trained on him, mind racing. If Foster's telling the truth, then someone else knew about this meeting. Someone who wanted Foster caught or killed. Someone who's still out there. "Who knew you were meeting them tonight?" "I didn't tell anyone. They contacted me, said they knew about my supply discrepancies and wanted to make a deal. I thought I could fix this without anyone finding out." A voice cuts through the night, calm, authoritative. "Drop your weapon, Lieutenant." Riley turns. Nash Sterling stands 30 feet away, his service pistol aimed at her head. "Lieutenant Commander Sterling." "What are you doing?" "My job, stopping a leak. Captain Foster is under arrest for treason." "He's not the mole, sir. This is a setup." Sterling's face doesn't change. "How would you know, Lieutenant? You've been in shadow program for 72 hours. Stand down." something in his voice, something too calm, too controlled. Riley's instincts scream at her. Show me your left shoulder, sir. What, your left shoulder? Show me. Sterling's eyes narrow. That's an order, Lieutenant. Stand down. Riley doesn't move, doesn't lower her rifle, just shifts her aim slightly. Not pointing at Sterling, not yet, but ready to. My grandfather left me a message, sir. He said to look for a Reaper tattoo, left shoulder. Said that's how I'd know. Sterling stands perfectly still. For 5 seconds, nothing moves. Then he smiles. It's not a friendly smile. William was always too smart for his own good. I told him to leave it alone, told him to forget what he'd found. He wouldn't listen. You killed him. Car accidents are easy to arrange when you know how. IEDs teach you interesting skills. Riley's finger tightens on her trigger. Every instinct screams at her to shoot, to end this, to avenge her grandfather. But she's a Marine. She's an officer. She's better than revenge. Drop your weapon, Kane. It's over. Sterling laughs, actually laughs. Over, Lieutenant. This is just beginning. You think I'm working alone? You think I'm the only ghost in Shadow program? Your grandfather found one snake. He never found the nest. Before Riley can respond, Sterling moves, fast. Faster than a 42-year-old intelligence officer should be able to move. He fires twice. Riley dives left, rolls, comes up shooting. Her rounds miss as Sterling disappears behind a container. Foster screams, hits the ground, covering his head. Riley sprints to cover, ejecting her magazine, slamming in a fresh one. Ethan's voice is frantic in her earpiece. Shots fired, Riley. Talk to me. Sterling is Kane. Repeat, Nash. Sterling is Victor Kane. He's armed and running. Riley pursues, moving fast through the maze of containers. She catches glimpses of Sterling ahead, who is just out of range. He's heading for the perimeter, for the fence, for freedom. She's not going to let that happen. Riley sprints, harder legs, burning lungs, screaming. She rounds a final corner and sees Sterling climbing the fence. She drops to one knee, aims, but hesitates. Can't take the shot with MPs and civilians potentially beyond the fence line. Sterling reaches the top, looks back. His face is different now. Not the calm intelligence officer. Something colder. Something that's seen too much combat and lost too much humanity. Tell Ironside I said, hello, Lieutenant. We'll finish this soon. Then he's over the fence and gone, disappearing into the California night like the ghost he's named after. Riley lowers her rifle, breathing hard rage and frustration warring in her chest. She didn't catch him. She let him escape. Her grandfather's killer is free. But now she knows who he is. Now Shadow Program knows they've been hunting the wrong people. And now the real war can begin. Back at Shadow headquarters, the mood is grim. General Thornton is in the medical bay, wounded but stable. Captain Foster is in custody, not for treason, but for illegal equipment transfers. The Russian contractors are dead or captured. And Victor Kane, wearing the face and identity of Nash Sterling, is in the wind. Riley stands in the briefing room, delivering her report to Reeves, Frost, and Hartwell. Her voice is steady despite the adrenaline still coursing through her veins. Sterling's been inside Shadow Program for 18 months, sir. Long enough to learn our procedures, long enough to plan. He killed Captain Van and Sergeant Cole. He compromised the Yemen mission, and he's been feeding intelligence to enemy forces for over a year. How did he infiltrate us, Sterling? The real Nash, Sterling, died in a car accident 2 years ago. Single vehicle, went off a bridge in Virginia, body burned beyond recognition. Dental records confirmed identity. Kane must have planned it. Killed Sterling, took his identity, used his credentials to get into Shadow Program. General Frost's face is stone, which means everything Sterling touched is compromised. Every mission he had access to, every operator he briefed. We're blind people. Not completely, ma'am. Riley pulls us out the USB drive that Foster handed to the contractors. Ethan Wade managed to retrieve it during the chaos. Foster was being set up, but he's also an idiot. He kept records of everything, including communications with someone he thought was Sterling, but who was actually Kane. This drive has locations. Dead drops, meeting sites, and encrypted files were still breaking. Hartwell wheels forward, studies the drive. Kane said something to you, said William found one snake but never found the nest. What did he mean? Riley meets his eyes. He means there are more moles, more compromised operators. Shadow program isn't just breached, sir. It's infested. The room falls silent. The implications are staggering. If Shadow program has multiple moles, then everything is suspect. Every operator could be compromised. Every mission could be a trap. General Reeves stands his face harder than Riley's ever seen it. We scrub the Yemen deployment immediately. We lock down Shadow program. Nobody deploys until we clean house. Lieutenant Blackwood, you're now heading the internal investigation. Find every rat, burn them out. I don't care how long it takes or what it keys. Shadow program dies or we fix it. Those are the only options. Riley comes to attention. Yes, sir. Permission to speak freely, granted. Kane said he'd finish this soon. He's planning something. Something big. We stopped him tonight, but he's not going to wait for us to find him. He's going to come for us. Then we'd better be ready when he does. Riley leaves the briefing room as dawn breaks over Camp Pendleton. 72 hours ago, she was nobody. Now she's hunting a ghost, leading an investigation into the most elite unit in the military and carrying the weight of her grandfather's legacy on her shoulders. She thinks about William Blackwood, about 16 years of training, about lessons learned in a Nevada garage and on desert ranges, about a man who taught her that real strength is silent until the moment it needs to roar. This is that moment. Victor Kane thinks he's won, thinks he's destroyed Shadow program from the inside, thinks that by killing William, he removed the only threat to his revenge. He's wrong, because William Blackwood didn't just train a warrior, he trained a hunter. And now the hunt has begun. Riley walks toward the armory as the sun rises. Derek Thornton is waiting outside, his face serious. He straightens when he sees her. Lieutenant, my father's going to make it. Doctors say you saved his life. I was just doing my job, Corporal. Derek shakes his head. No, you were being the Marine the rest of us should be. I wanted to say thank you, and I wanted to say I'm sorry for everything before. You showed me what real strength looks like. Riley studies him, sees sincerity in his eyes, sees growth, sees potential. You want to help, Corporal? Yes, ma'am. Whatever you need. Then gear up. We've got work to do. Derek's face breaks into something that might be the beginning of a real smile. Not arrogant, not cocky, just determined. Yes, ma'am. They walk into the armory together as the California sun climbs higher. Somewhere out there, Victor Kane is planning his next move. Somewhere out there, more moles wait to be uncovered. Somewhere out there, the real battle for Shadow Program's soul is about to begin. But Riley Blackwood isn't afraid, because she's not fighting alone. She's fighting with her grandfather's legacy, with Hartwell's wisdom, with operators who've proven themselves in combat, with the truth that William died to protect, and the truth Riley knows is the most powerful weapon of all. The hunt is on, and this time the ghost doesn't get to hide. The abandoned forward operating base sits in the desert outside 29 Palms, like a skeleton bleaching in the sun. Concrete barriers crumbling, razor wire rusted, buildings that once housed Marines now home to nothing but sand and silence, and ghosts of wars that never officially happened. Riley Blackwood stands at the edge of the perimeter, studying the layout through binoculars. 0300 hours, 3 in the morning. The desert night is cold enough that her breath mists in the air. Above her, stars scatter across the sky like shrapnel frozen in time. Ethan Wade crouches beside her tablet, glowing faintly in the darkness, showing thermal imaging from a drone circling 2,000 feet overhead. 8 heat signatures inside the main structure. Armed. Professional spacing. These aren't amateurs. Riley lowers the binoculars. Behind them, 4 more operators prepare gear in silence. Dylan cross-checking his M4 carbine. Garrett Hayes, the big man they call Brick, adjusting his plate carrier. Lisa Patterson cleaning her rifle with movements so practiced they're almost meditation. And Derek Thornton, newest member of the team, running through final equipment checks with the intensity of someone who has something to prove. 3 days. That's how long it took to track Victor Kane to this location. 3 days of following digital breadcrumbs, interrogating captured Russian contractors, and decoding encrypted communications. 3 days of Riley barely sleeping, running on coffee and rage, and the memory of her grandfather's face. The breakthrough came from an unexpected source. Captain Ryan Foster, sitting in a holding cell, terrified of spending the rest of his life in military prison, suddenly remembered something. A conversation he'd overheard 6 months ago. Nash Sterling, the man who turned out to be Victor Kane, talking on a phone in a language Foster didn't recognize. Russian maybe, or something else. But Sterling had mentioned a place. Fort Phantom. Old Force Recon slang for this abandoned FOB, where William Blackwood used to run advanced close-quarters combat courses from 2000 to 2003. The place where William trained Victor Kane. The place where their brotherhood began before it turned to betrayal and murder. Hartwell's voice crackles in Riley's earpiece, monitoring from Shadow headquarters 30 miles away. Thermals showing one signature separate from the others. Southwest corner, second floor. Could be Kane, could be bait. Riley studies the building. 2 stories, multiple entry points, but also multiple kill zones. Kane knows they're coming. He has to know. This whole thing is a trap. The question is whether Riley's smart enough to spring it without getting her team killed. Derek moves closer, his voice low. Lieutenant, we could call in more support. Marines from the base. Air assets. We don't have to do this with 6 operators. Riley shakes her head. Kane has contacts everywhere. The more people involved, the more chance he slips away. We go in fast, we go in quiet, and we end this tonight. She turns to face her team. 5 operators. 5 people she's known for less than a week, but who've already proven they'll follow her into hell if she asks. Rules of engagement. Kane comes out alive if possible. We need to know who else he's working with, who else is compromised in Shadow program. But if he tries to detonate anything, if he puts this team at risk, you are authorized to use lethal force. Clear crystal, ma'am. Dylan Cross's voice is steady. 20-year veteran. Seen more combat than most people see in nightmares. If he's nervous, it doesn't show. Entry plan. Brick and Dylan, you take the east entrance. Hawk and Ethan, west side. Derek and I go through the center. Standard room clearing procedures. Watch your corners. Trust your training. And remember, Kane is Force Recon. He knows every trick William Blackwood ever taught because William taught him first. He's dangerous. He's smart. And he's been planning this for longer than any of us have been hunting him. Lisa Patterson chambers around in her rifle. The sound is loud in the quiet desert. What about the 8 hostiles inside contractors? Maybe ex-military, maybe Russian mafia, maybe both. They're between us and Kane. We go through them. Riley checks her own weapon. M4 carbine, suppressor attached, night vision mounted, extra magazines, flashbangs, zip ties, medical kit, everything she needs to fight a small war in close quarters. Time check, 03:15. We move in 5 mics. Questions no one speaks. These are professionals. They've done this before in places far worse than a California desert. Iraq, Afghanistan, Syria, buildings full of enemies who wanted them dead. This is just another mission. Just another night's work. Except it's not. Because this time they're hunting one of their own. A ghost who's been dead for 20 years but is somehow still killing. A man who murdered Riley's grandfather and has been dismantling Shadow program piece by piece from the inside. This time it's personal. Riley thinks about William Blackwood, about the last conversation they had before he died. She'd called him from boot camp frustrated, wondering if she'd made a mistake joining the Marines. And he'd said something she didn't understand then, but understands now. Riley girl, you're going to face a moment when everything you've learned gets tested, when the world pushes you harder than you have ever been pushed. And in that moment, you'll have a choice. You can break, or you can become who you were always meant to be. I trained you for that moment. Trust yourself, trust your training, and remember that real warriors don't fight for glory. They fight for the person standing next to them. The person standing next to her is Derek Thornton, the same man who humiliated her a week ago, who kicked her in front of 40 recruits, who called her sweetheart and told her she was in the wrong building. He's different now. Changed by watching Riley fight, changed by seeing his father almost die, changed by the realization that strength isn't about dominating others, but about having the discipline to be better than your worst impulses. You ready? Corporal Derek nods, his face hard with determination. Been ready, Lieutenant. Let's finish this. Riley keys her radio. All teams execute. 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 They move. 6 shadows flowing across the desert toward the skeleton of a base that time forgot. No running. No noise. Just controlled movement, weapons up, eyes scanning for threats. The way William Blackwood taught Riley to move when she was 12 years old practicing night stalks in the Nevada desert while other kids were playing video games. Brick and Dylan reach the east entrance. Stack up. Flashbang through the window. Explosion of light and sound. They breach, rifles up, voices shouting commands. Two-shot bursts. Controlled pairs. Threats eliminated. Hawk and Ethan hit the west side. Door kicked open. More flashbangs. More gunfire. Muzzle flashes lighting up the darkness like strobe lights at a rave in hell. Riley and Derek go through the center, front door hanging off broken hinges. Interior is dust and shadows and the smell of oil and rust. Riley's night vision turns everything green and ghostly. She sees stairs ahead, doorways left and right. 1,000 places an ambush could be waiting. She moves, smooth rifle tucked tight against her shoulder finger, on the trigger, breathing controlled. Derek follows 3 feet behind, covering their 6, trusting Riley to lead them through. Contact left. Riley's voice is calm. She fires twice. A contractor stumbles out from behind a doorway, rifle dropping, body folding. Derek spins right, engages another target. 2 shots, center mass. The man drops. Gunfire echoes through the building. Commands shouted in English and Russian. Flashbangs detonating. The sound of boots on concrete and brass hitting the floor, and men dying in a building that's already a graveyard. Riley reaches the stairs. Ethan's voice crackles in her earpiece. West side secure. 3 enemy KIA. Moving to second floor. Dylan follows. East side clear. 2 enemy KIA, 1 wounded and surrendering. Securing him now. Riley keys her radio. Center stairwell. Moving to second floor. That's where Kane is. That's where this ends. She takes the stairs 2 at a time, Derek right behind her. Second floor is darker, windows boarded. Only ambient light from the stars filtering through gaps in the walls. Riley's night vision compensates, showing her a hallway stretching 30 feet with doors on either side. At the end of the hallway, a door stands open. Light spills out. Artificial light. Someone's running a generator. Someone's been living here, planning here, waiting here. Riley approaches slowly, every instinct screaming that this is the kill zone. This is where Kane wants her. But she's out of options, out of time. The Yemen deployment is scrubbed, but there are other missions, other operators, other chances for Kane to destroy everything William Blackwood built. She reaches the doorway, pauses, takes a breath, then moves through, fast, rifle up, scanning for threats. The room is set up like a command post. Laptops, radios, maps on the walls showing shadow program deployment sites. Photos of operators, including Riley, with red X's marked through some faces. The faces of people who are dead. Captain Van, Sergeant Cole. Others Riley doesn't recognize, but who probably died because Victor Kane put them in situations they couldn't survive. And sitting at a desk in the center of the room, calm as death, is Nash Sterling, or the man wearing his face. Victor Kane, Braddock. He doesn't look 45. Combat and hatred have aged him. Gray in his hair, lines around his eyes, the scar on his face from jaw to eyebrow looks like a crack in porcelain. He's wearing civilian clothes, jeans, black t-shirt, but his posture is military. His eyes are operator's eyes, cold, calculating, already 3 moves ahead. Lieutenant Blackwood, right on time, his voice is conversational. Like they're old friends meeting for coffee instead of enemies meeting in a place where one of them will probably die. Riley doesn't lower her rifle. Victor Kane, you're under arrest for treason, murder, and about 20 other charges I don't have time to list. On your feet, hands behind your head. Kane smiles. It doesn't reach his eyes. You sound just like William. Same tone, same authority. He trained you well. Better than he trained me, maybe. He always did have a soft spot for family. You killed him, I did. And I'm not sorry. William was a good man trapped in a bad system. He couldn't see that the military chews people up and spits them out, that we're all just tools to be used and discarded. I tried to show him, tried to make him understand, but he was too stubborn, too loyal to a cause that doesn't give a damn about soldiers like us. Derek moves into the room covering the left side. His rifle is trained on Kane's center mass. 1 twitch and Derek will drop him. You murdered 2 operators in Syria. You compromised missions. You're the reason good soldiers died. Kane's face hardens. Those soldiers died because generals make stupid decisions, Because politicians play games with our lives. I didn't kill them. The system killed them. I'm just pointing out the rot. By becoming the rot yourself, Riley's voice cuts like a knife. By betraying everything you swore to protect, Kane stands slowly. Riley tenses, but he doesn't reach for a weapon. Just stands there, hands visible, looking at Riley like she's a child who doesn't understand adult conversations. Your grandfather understood betrayal, Lieutenant. He just didn't understand that sometimes betrayal is the only rational response to a system that's already betrayed you. Afghanistan, Iraq, Syria. How many soldiers died for what? For nothing. For oil. For political points. And men like William just kept following orders, kept feeding young operators into the meat grinder. Somebody had to stop it. So you became a traitor. You sold intel to enemies. You got Americans killed. I got soldiers out of a rigged game. Kane's voice rises for the first time, real emotion breaking through the cold exterior. 8 men died in that IED blast. My brothers, my team. Because some colonel in an air-conditioned office decided we needed to rush a mission for a photo op. Nobody was punished. Nobody was held accountable. The machine just kept grinding. So I decided to break the machine. By joining the enemy, by exposing the truth. That shadow program is just another way to spend American lives on missions that don't matter. That we're all just pawns in games we don't understand and can't win. Riley lowers her rifle slightly. Not disarming, just shifting, creating space for words before bullets. You're wrong. Shadow program saves lives. Stops threats before they become wars. My grandfather believed in it, gave 30 years to it, and you killed him because he was going to expose you. Kane laughs. It's a bitter sound. I killed him because he couldn't let go, because he couldn't see that his legacy was built on sand. And now you're here carrying that legacy like it means something, like you can fix what's broken. But you can't, Lieutenant. Shadow program is compromised beyond repair. And it's not just me. Riley's blood runs cold. What do you mean? Kane's smile returns. Triumphant. You think I'm the only ghost. You think I spent 20 years planning this alone? Shadow program has more leaks than the Titanic, Lieutenant. I'm just the one William found. The others, they're still there. Still feeding intel. Still waiting for the moment to strike. You've won nothing tonight. You've just delayed the inevitable. Who are they? Give me names. Kane shakes his head. That's not how this works. You want names, you'll have to earn them. You'll have to prove you're as good as William thought you were. Last chance, Kane. Surrender now, or what you'll shoot me. You need me alive, Lieutenant. You need to know who else is compromised. You need to save your precious shadow program. So we both know you won't pull that trigger. He's right. Riley needs him alive. Needs information. Needs to know how deep the corruption goes. But every instinct is screaming at her to end this. To put a bullet in the man who killed her grandfather and walk away. Before Riley can decide, everything goes wrong. Kane's hand moves fast. Faster than a man his age should move. He pulls something from his pocket. A detonator. Riley's heart stops. This whole building is wired, Lieutenant. C4 on every support column. Enough to bring the whole structure down. You've got 30 seconds to get your team out or everyone dies here. Your choice. Chase me and they die. Save them and I disappear. He presses the button. Somewhere in the building charges activate. Electronic timers start counting down. 30 seconds. 29. 28. Kane runs. Crashes through a window. Glass shatters. Riley has a split-second decision. Chase him and potentially catch him, but lose her team. Or save her team and let him escape. It's not even a choice. All teams evacuate now. Building's rigged to blow. Move, move, move. Derek grabs her arm. Lieutenant, we can still catch him. Negative. Get downstairs. Get everyone out. Riley sprints back the way she came. Down the hallway, down the stairs. Her team is already moving. Brick carrying the wounded Russian contractor. Dylan and Ethan covering their exit. Hawk providing suppressing fire at shadows that might be more enemies. 15 seconds. They burst out of the building into the desert night. Keep running. 50 yards. 75. 100. 5 seconds. Riley hits the ground, covering her head. The others follow. The building explodes. Not one charge. Multiple charges. Simultaneous detonations that turn concrete and steel into shrapnel and dust. The sound is apocalyptic. The shockwave hits like a physical wall. Heat washes over them even at 100 yards out. Riley looks up through the dust and smoke. The fob is gone, collapsed, burning. A funeral pyre for ghosts and secrets in the mission she failed to complete. Kane is gone, disappeared into the desert like smoke. And with him goes the chance to learn who else has betrayed Shadow Program. Who else is waiting in the shadows to strike. Derek crawls over to Riley, blood running from a cut on his forehead, but otherwise intact. Everyone accounted for. Brick's voice comes through the radio. We're all here, Lieutenant. Wounded contractors unconscious, but alive. No friendly casualties. Riley pushes herself to her feet, stares at the burning ruins. Failure tastes like ash in her mouth. She had Kane, had him right there, and he slipped away. Hartwell's voice crackles in her earpiece, urgent. Riley, what's your status? We saw the explosion on satellite. Buildings destroyed. Teams intact. Kane escaped. Silence for a moment. Then Hartwell again, his voice careful. Did he say anything? Give you anything? Riley thinks about Kane's words, about his claim that there are more moles, more compromised operators. That Shadow Program is broken beyond repair. He said he's not working alone, sir. Said there are others, but he's gone and we've got nothing. Not nothing, Lieutenant. Ethan Wade stands 20 feet away, holding his tablet. His face is illuminated by the screen's glow, and something that might be excitement. The explosion fried most of his equipment, but not everything. I pulled a hard drive before we evacuated. It's damaged, but I might be able to recover data. If we're lucky, it'll have communications, maybe names. Riley feels something that might be hope stirring in her chest. Maybe this wasn't a complete failure. Maybe Kane made a mistake by not destroying everything before he ran. Get that drive to headquarters. Priority 1. I want our best cryptologists on it. Yes, ma'am. Riley turns back to the burning building. Somewhere out there, Victor Kane is running, planning his next move, laughing at her failure. But he's also missing something. Missing the hard drive that might expose everything. Missing the fact that Riley Blackwood is not her grandfather. William would have played this cautious, methodical, by the book. Riley's done playing by the book. Hartwell, I need authorization for unrestricted access to Shadow Program's operational history. Every mission, every operator, every detail going back 20 years. That's asking for a lot, kid. I know, sir, but Kane said Shadow Program is compromised beyond repair. I'm going to prove him wrong. I'm going to find every rat, burn them out, and I'm going to rebuild what my grandfather died protecting. Silence on the radio. Then General Reeves' voice cuts in. He's been listening the whole time. Authorization granted, Lieutenant Blackwood. Clean house. Use whatever resources you need. Shadow Program stands or falls on what you do next. Understood, sir. I won't let you down. I know you won't. William trained you too well for failure. The team piles into vehicles, exhausted, covered in dust and blood and the residue of combat, but alive. All of them alive because Riley chose her team over her revenge, because she understood what her grandfather tried to teach her, that real warriors don't fight for glory or vengeance. They fight for each other. Derek sits beside her in the vehicle. His face is serious, thoughtful. Lieutenant, back there, when you had the choice between chasing Kane and saving us, you didn't hesitate. Thank you. Riley doesn't look at him, just stares out at the desert racing past in the darkness. You're my team, Corporal. I don't leave my team behind. That's not negotiable. Derek nods, understanding something fundamental about leadership that his father tried to teach him, but he only learned by watching Riley. What's next? Next, we hunt. Kane thinks he's won because he escaped, but he left behind evidence. He left behind witnesses. And most importantly, he left behind a warrior who won't quit until every traitor is exposed and every ghost is put back in the grave where it belongs. The convoy reaches Camp Pendleton as dawn breaks. Riley hasn't slept in 36 hours, but sleep is a luxury she can't afford. Not yet. Not until this is finished. She goes straight to the secure computer lab, where Ethan and a team of cryptologists are working on the damaged hard drive. They've been at it for 4 hours. Progress is slow. The explosion damaged sectors, corrupted files, but they're recovering data piece by piece. Talk to me, Corporal. What do we have? Ethan looks up, eyes red from staring at screens, but excited. We've got communications, Lieutenant. Encrypted but not military grade. Russian mafia protocols. Kane was sloppy. He thought the explosion would cover his tracks, but we've recovered about 60% of the drive. Names working on it. But we've got something else. Transaction records. Money flowing from offshore accounts to people inside Shadow Program. Not just Kane, multiple recipients. He was telling the truth about not working alone. Riley's jaw tightens. How many? At least 3 that I can confirm so far. Maybe more. Lieutenant, this is bigger than we thought. This isn't just one trader, it's a network. The door opens. General Reeves enters with Hartwell and General Frost. They look like they've aged 10 years in one night, Lieutenant. Report. Riley straightens, exhaustion pulling at her but discipline keeping her upright. Victor Kane escaped, but we recovered intelligence suggesting multiple compromise operators within Shadow Program. Corporal Wade is working on identifying them now. Sir, we need to lock down all operations until we know who we can trust. Reeves nods grimly. Already done. All Shadow missions are suspended until further notice. Every operator is being interviewed. Every communication is being audited. We're burning it all down and rebuilding from scratch. What about Kane, sir? He's still out there. General Frost speaks, her voice hard. That's your job now, Lieutenant. You're heading a task force. Find Kane, find everyone working with him, and end this threat permanently. You have unlimited authority. Use it. Riley feels the weight settle on her shoulders. 23 years old, lieutenant for less than a week, and now responsible for saving the most elite special operations program in American military history. But she's ready, because William Blackwood spent 16 years preparing her for exactly this moment. Yes, ma'am, I'll need Derek Thornton, formally assigned to my team, granted. Anyone else, the operators who fought with me tonight, Dylan Brickhawk, Ethan, they've proven they can be trusted. I want them. Done. Anything else? Riley pauses, then speaks words she never thought she'd say. I need to talk to Captain Foster. He's scared and stupid, but he's not a traitor. He has information we haven't extracted yet, and I think I can get him to cooperate. You trust him, oh sir, but I trust my ability to read people. William taught me that liars have tells. Foster's tells say he's a coward and an idiot, but not a traitor. I can use that. Reeves exchanges glances with Frost and Hartwell, then nods. Do it. Whatever it takes to find Kane and the others. Shadow Program's survival depends on it. The generals leave. Riley stands alone in the computer lab as sunlight streams through the window. Outside, Marines are going about their daily routines. Training, drills, normal military life. They have no idea that the shadow war being fought in their midst. That the very foundations of American special operations are being threatened from within. But Riley knows. And she's not going to let her grandfather's death mean nothing. Not going to let Kane destroy what William spent 30 years building. She pulls out her phone, looks at the last text message her grandfather sent her before he died. She's read it 1,000 times, but it hits different now. Hits harder with the weight of everything she's learned. Riley girl, if you're reading this at a weird time, something's happened to me. Don't be sad. I lived more life than most men get 3 chances at. Just remember what I taught you. Trust yourself, trust your training, and finish what needs finishing. The warrior's path isn't easy, but it's the right one. Love you always, Grandpa. Riley closes her eyes, takes a breath. When she opens them again, the exhaustion is gone, replaced by something harder. Something forged in combat and refined by purpose. Ethan looks up from his computer. Lieutenant, I've got something, a name. One of the people receiving money from Kane's offshore accounts. Riley moves to his screen, looks at the name, feels her blood run cold. Are you sure 95%? The account belongs to someone inside Shadow Program. Someone we trusted. Riley stares at the screen, at the name of someone who's been hiding in plain sight. Someone who has access to everything. Someone who could destroy them all if they're not stopped. But they will be stopped. Because Riley Blackwood is her grandfather's legacy, and legacies don't break, they don't bend, they don't quit when the mission gets hard. They finish what needs finishing. Get me everything on this person, every mission they've been on, every communication they have sent, every movement they've made in the last 2 years. I want to know what they eat for breakfast and what they dream about at night. Yes, ma'am. What are you going to do? Riley picks up her rifle, checks the magazine, chambers around. The sound is final. Absolute. I'm going to do what my grandfather trained me to do. I'm going to hunt ghosts. And when I find them, I'm going to send them back to hell, where they belong. 72 hours later, Riley stands in the same secure briefing room where this all started, but everything is different now. The room is packed. Every shadow program operator who passed the renewed vetting process. 23 men and women who've proven beyond doubt that their loyalty is absolute. General Reeves stands at the front. His face is harder than granite, but there's satisfaction in his eyes. General Frost beside him, Colonel Hartwell in his wheelchair, looking older but relieved. And on the screen behind them, 3 faces with red captured stamps across them. The first face is Victor Kane. His image shows him in custody, hands cuffed, the scar on his jaw, more pronounced in the harsh lighting of an interrogation room. Reeves' voice fills the room. 72 hours ago, Lieutenant Blackwood recovered intelligence from Victor Kane's command post. That intelligence led us to 3 additional compromise operators within Shadow Program. Thanks to her leadership and the dedication of her team, all 3 have been apprehended and are currently being processed for court-martial. The screen changes. 3 more faces. Riley recognizes one. Staff Sergeant Maria Cortez, the woman who was kind to her during training. The woman who turned out to be feeding information to Kane for 18 months. The betrayal still stings, but Riley's learned that kindness can be a weapon as much as a knife. The other 2 faces are operators Riley never suspected. Both had been with Shadow Program for over 5 years. Both had access to everything. Both were paid through offshore accounts traced back to Russian intelligence services. But Victor Kane himself, that's the story that matters. 48 hours ago, Border Patrol arrested a man trying to cross into Mexico near Tijuana using forged credentials. The man was injured, exhausted, desperate. He fought the agents, put 2 in the hospital before they subdued him with tasers and restraints. When they ran his fingerprints, flags went up all the way to the Department of Defense. Riley and her team were wheels up within the hour. The interrogation took 12 hours. Kane was tough, professional, trained to resist questioning. But Riley had something he didn't expect. She had his own words on the hard drive Ethan recovered. She had transaction records, communication logs, names of his contacts in Russian intelligence and organized crime networks. And she had something else, something more powerful than evidence. She had William Blackwood's journal, the full version. The one that detailed every conversation William had with Kane in the months before Kane faked his death. The one that showed how William had trusted Kane, mentored him, loved him like a son. Reading those words broke something in Kane. The cold operator facade cracked, and when it did, information poured out. Names, locations, operations, everything Shadow Program needed to dismantle the network he'd built over 20 years. General Frost steps forward now, her voice carrying the weight of command. Victor Kane will face military tribunal for treason, murder of federal officers, espionage, and approximately 40 other charges. He will spend the rest of his natural life in a maximum security military prison. His network is dismantled. His contacts are being rolled up by allied intelligence services worldwide. Shadow Program is secure. The room erupts in applause. Not loud, not celebratory. Just the quiet acknowledgement of professionals who know how close they came to total compromise. Reeves raises his hand, silence returns. But securing Shadow Program required sacrifice. It required operators willing to put the mission above personal safety, willing to face overwhelming odds, willing to lead when leadership was needed most. He looks directly at Riley, Lieutenant Riley Blackwood, front and center. Riley stands, walks to the front of the room. Every eye on her. Derek Thornton stands too, along with Dylan Brickhawk and Ethan. Her team, the operators who went into hell with her and came back alive. Lieutenant Blackwood, in recognition of exceptional valor in combat, superior leadership under fire, and successful completion of a mission critical to national security, it is my honor to promote you to the rank of Captain, United States Marine Corps. General Frost steps forward with new insignia. Captain's bars. She removes Riley's lieutenant bars and pins the new rank in place. The weight is different, heavier, but Riley's shoulders don't slouch under it. She stands straight, proud, ready. Your grandfather would be very proud, Captain. Frost's voice is quiet, meant only for Riley, but the words hit harder than any explosion. Thank you, ma'am. I hope I can live up to his legacy. You already have. Reeves continues. Additionally, Corporal Derek Thornton has successfully completed Shadow Program selection and evaluation. He is hereby promoted to Sergeant and assigned to Captain Blackwood's team as her second in command. Derek steps forward. His face is serious, but there's pride there. Hard-earned pride. The kind that comes from being broken down and rebuilt as something better. Reeves pins new rank on Derek's collar. Congratulations, Sergeant. Don't screw it up. A hint of smile. Won't happen again, sir. The briefing concludes. Operators file out. Missions to plan. Operations to execute. Shadow Program is back to work. But cleaner now. Stronger. Forged in fire and betrayal and the kind of loyalty that can't be compromised with money or ideology. Riley walks out into the California sunshine. It's early afternoon. The sky is impossibly blue. Marines are training on distant fields. The sounds of combat drills echo across the base. Normal sounds. Good sounds. Derek catches up with her. Captain Blackwood has a nice ring to it. Riley glances at him. Don't let it go to my head, Sergeant. Wouldn't dream of it, ma'am. Where to now, Riley considers. There's paperwork to file, after-action reports to write, 100 administrative tasks that come with saving Shadow Program from destruction. But right now, there's somewhere else she needs to be. Take the team to the armory. Weapons maintenance. I'll meet you there in 2 hours. Where are you going? Riley doesn't answer, just walks toward the parking lot where her truck is parked. 30 minutes later, she stands at a grave in a military cemetery outside San Diego. The headstone is simple. Regulation. Nothing fancy, just the facts of a life lived in service. Master Sergeant William Blackwood, United States Marine Corps, 1963-24. Force reconnaissance. Swift, silent, deadly. Riley kneels, places her hand on the warm stone. The sun has been beating down on it all day, and the heat feels like a connection. Like William is still here, still watching, still proud. She pulls the captain's bars from her pocket. The old lieutenant bars Frost removed during the promotion ceremony. Riley sets them on top of the headstone next to the flowers someone else left recently. Probably Hartwell. The old colonel visits often. We did it, Grandpa. We found Kane, we stopped him. We saved Shadow Program, just like you asked. Her voice cracks slightly, emotion threatening to overwhelm discipline. I wish you could have seen it. Wish you could have been there when I made captain. Wish you could meet my team. Derek's different now. You'd like him. He reminds me of what you always said, that the strongest people are the ones who admit when they're wrong and do better. She stands, wipes her eyes quickly. Marines don't cry in public cemeteries, but granddaughters are allowed to mourn. I'm going to keep training, keep getting better, keep honoring what you taught me. And when I retire someday, when I'm old and gray like you were, I'm going to train someone else, pass it on, make sure your legacy doesn't die with me. The wind picks up, rustles through the trees surrounding the cemetery. For just a moment, Riley imagines she can hear her grandfather's voice in that wind. That's my girl. Now get back to work. Warriors don't stand around talking to stones. Riley smiles, salutes the headstone one final time. Sharp, precise. The way William taught her when she was 7 years old and crying about bullies on a Nevada porch. Then she turns and walks back to her truck. Back to Camp Pendleton. Back to Shadow Program. Back to the team that depends on her leadership and the mission that never ends. Because that's what warriors do. They don't quit when the fight gets hard. They don't stop when they're tired. They keep moving forward. Keep protecting the people beside them. Keep honoring the fallen by living better than the living have any right to expect. Riley Blackwood was underestimated her entire life. Dismissed, mocked, told she didn't belong. But she never believed them. Because her grandfather taught her something those people would never understand. Real strength doesn't announce itself. It doesn't need validation or recognition. It simply exists, quiet, patient, waiting for the moment when it's needed most. And when that moment comes, it doesn't hesitate. It acts, it dominates, it finishes what needs finishing. The moment came. Riley answered, and the world will never underestimate her again. She drives back to base as the sun begins its descent toward the Pacific. Tomorrow brings new missions, new challenges, new threats to American interests that will never make the news and will be stopped by operators whose names the public will never know. But tonight's shadow program is secure. The ghosts are gone, and William Blackwood's legacy lives on in his granddaughter who learned to fight in silence until the moment came to roar. That moment passed, the roar echoed, and now the silence returns. But it's a different silence, not the silence of weakness or fear or hiding. It's the silence of strength, of warriors who've proven everything that needs proving and have nothing left to announce. The strongest silence of all.